Have you ever felt like you're living in a world where the rules change without warning and you're just a pawn in a game you don't understand? Many people believe that peace is the absence of war, but the counterintuitive truth is that the most stable period in our recent history was built on the threat of total annihilation. It seems like a paradox, doesn't it? Two giants pointing guns at each other while the world watched, terrified. Silent strategy tension that shaped everything you know today, from your GPS to the internet you use. The controversy here is that without this constant fear, perhaps we wouldn't have evolved half as much as we have, but the price was living in a global board where a sneeze in the wrong place could wipe humanity off the map. I'll show you how iron mentality and access to hidden files, they prevented the end of the world by revealing secrets buried beneath the Siberian ice and the offices of Washington. If you think history is just about dates and boring names, prepare for a quick reward. You'll understand the inner workings of power in a way no textbook ever dared to tell. This video isn't just about the past, it's about identifying the patterns that are repeating themselves now, right before your eyes, involving the new, digital gold, and the new powers. If you want to stop being fooled by superficial narratives and start seeing the hidden gears that move nations, you're in the right place. Let's delve into the minds of the strategists who played poker with the fate of the Earth, where the only real rule was, never let the enemy know you're afraid. You know, my dear friend, the greatest ruptures in history don't begin with shouts, but with a silence heavy with doubt between former allies. It's fascinating to note how silent strategy. This analogy was used when the US and the USSR, after defeating a common evil, realized that the next great challenge was mutual coexistence. In the real world, this is like that business partnership that thrives in crisis, but falls apart when profits finally appear on the meeting table. If you look closely, this transition from friendship to rivalry requires err-on mentality to avoid being carried away solely by the emotion of the present moment. A master communicator knows that, to avoid being caught off guard, it's necessary to analyze the non-verbal signals of those around you, just as analysts did in 1945. I recommend that you practice this keen perception by reading The Art of Prudence by Baltasar Gracian to understand how to protect your most ambitious plans. In that global board, each handshake concealed a hidden intention that only trained eyes could perceive with absolute clarity and precision. Imagine a mentor advising their pupil, never reveal all your cards before understanding whether the ground you're standing on is solid or made of quicksand. This initial caution wasn't just fear, but a form of self-preservation necessary for those seeking to master the hidden files of future global influence. The stark truth is that by ignoring the digital gold due to privileged information, many past leaders ended up hostage to their own poorly founded assumptions. To apply this today, you should always verify the source of any news or data before making an important financial or personal decision in your routine. It is this posture of constant vigilance that separates amateurs who merely react from true strategists who anticipate every move of their hidden opponents. You know, when we look at history, we realize that the highest walls aren't made of stone, but of ideologies that surround the mind. The concept of the Iron Curtain was the greatest example: silent strategy. The isolation we've never seen before creates a chasm where there was once dialogue and closeness. In our daily lives, this resembles those mental barriers we build out of fear of the new, preventing our iron mentality expand and prosper. To break through these barriers, a wise mentor would say that you need to seek what is hidden behind the obvious, challenging the information bubbles that surround you. Global board. Those who isolate themselves end up losing the rhythm of innovation and become hostage to a limited and dangerous worldview, I recommend that you practice anti-fragility, a concept by Nassim Taleb, to learn how to use chaos and separation as fuel for your personal growth. The isolation of entire nations served as a social laboratory where control of information was paramount. Digital gold from that dark and divided era. Imagine the impact of living in a place where access to hidden files, the truth was a crime punished with the most severe of penalties. This lesson shows us that freedom of movement, both physical and intellectual, is the foundation for any empire that intends to last more than a season. To apply this wisdom now, start by mapping out the iron curtains you've erected in your own life, whether due to prejudice or pure comfort zone. If you want to invest in yourself, don't get stuck with just one method. Diversify your sources of knowledge just as an investor diversifies into good stocks and real assets. It is this openness to the world that ensures you are never caught off guard by abrupt changes in the environment in which you operate. You know, my friend, true power is never in the roar of the battlefield, but in silent strategy of those who hear what wasn't said. For decades, agencies like the CIA and KGB waged a duel where information was the most valuable asset of all. Global board in everyday life, this is like understanding that in a negotiation, whoever has more information about the other side always holds the greatest competitive advantage. To master this level of influence, you need to cultivate Aaron mentality and learn to read between the lines of every contract or important conversation that crosses your path. A master knows that having access to hidden files, that is, the technical knowledge that nobody else wants to study. That's what puts you on top. I recommend you study The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene to understand how discretion and observation are deadly weapons. Imagine the value of discovering a technological secret before it's even been tested. That was the real deal. Digital gold from that era of spies and constant betrayals. The lesson here is clear. Information only has value if you know how to use it with surgical precision and at the exact moment of your opponent's maximum vulnerability. As a mentor, I tell you, never underestimate the power of a small piece of well-placed information, because it can bring down entire empires in a devastating way. In practice, you can apply this today by becoming a data analytics expert or learning about cybersecurity to protect your own assets and digital privacy. If you want to invest, don't just look at the chart. Look at what companies are trying to hide in their annual reports and understand the bigger market context. It's this search for what's in the shadows that will ensure you're always 3 steps ahead of any move fate tries to make against you. You know, my friend, there are moments in life when the pressure is so overwhelming that only one silent strategy containment measures can prevent total disaster. The Cuban Missile Crisis was the most critical point in this regard. Global board, where one wrong move could mean the end of everything we know. In your daily life, this translates into those sudden crises at work or in the family, where staying calm is your greatest strategic asset. To navigate such turbulent waters, it is essential that you develop Aaron mentality, acting with the prudence of a master who sees beyond the immediate chaos. Kennedy and Khrushchev had to ignore the war councils and seek the hidden files from common diplomatic sense to saving humanity. I recommend you study Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman to learn how to control your impulses when the world seems to be crumbling around you. The emotional control demonstrated that week is worth more than anything. Digital gold or material wealth that can be accumulated over a lifetime of effort. Imagine if leaders had succumbed to ego. We wouldn't be here today sharing this journey of knowledge and constant mutual growth. As a mentor, I tell you, true strength lies not in attacking first, but in having the wisdom to take a step back to ensure the survival of your greater purpose. In practice, when faced with an extreme conflict situation, don't react immediately. breathe, and analyze the long-term consequences of each word spoken. If you are managing a financial crisis, for example, don't liquidate your investments in the heat of the moment, but try to understand the fundamentals behind the market movement. It is this ability to maintain lucidity under fire that will transform you into a respected leader capable of weathering any storm with absolute confidence. You know, my friend, time is the most merciless judge of all structures that try to impose themselves by force and not by efficiency. The fall of the Berlin Wall was not just a physical event, but the collapse of a silent strategy who tried to stop the natural flow of human freedom. In his personal journey, this serves to remind us that any project or habit built on rigid and unrenewed foundations eventually succumbs to the reality of global board. To prevent your own achievements from crumbling, you need to cultivate air-on mentality, that it be, at the same time, adaptable and resilient to the new times. A master understands that the end of the Soviet Union taught us that the true digital gold intellectual strength cannot be kept locked away for long. I recommend you read The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg to understand how to rebuild your inner foundations before external crises irreversibly overwhelm them. When the hidden files with those barriers finally opened up, the world realized that a nation's true strength lies in its ability to thrive through networks, not in total isolation. As a mentor, I tell you, the greatest lesson you can learn from this fall is that freedom demands responsibility and a clear vision of where you want to go after tearing down your own walls. Imagine the feeling of those who crossed that barrier. It was the beginning of a new cycle that demanded a new way of thinking and acting with absolute mastery. In practice, assess which systems in your life are obsolete and begin a controlled demolition before they unexpectedly collapse on you. If you want to invest in the future, look for technologies that promote decentralization and transparency, as they are the opposite of what brought down empires of the past. Keep your eyes open for paradigm shifts and don't be afraid to reinvent yourself, because it is in transition that the greatest treasures of knowledge are discovered by those who have the courage to act now. Now that the curtains have closed and the hidden files, the truth has been revealed, but the question that keeps nagging at you isn't what they did back then, but what you're doing with your freedom today. Global Boardit changed its face, but the rules of influence and the need for air and mentality, these principles remain more alive than ever in every decision you make. Will you continue to be merely a passive spectator of change, or will you begin to apply them? Silent strategy to protect their dreams and build their own empire. History does not forgive those who sleep on the job while the world spins at breakneck speed, vying for the new digital gold right before your eyes. I challenge you, what wall will you tear down in your life today to stop living defensively and start playing to win? Don't let this knowledge be just another video you watched and forgot. Transform this wisdom into real fuel to change your attitude and your bank account. If you felt something awaken within you and want to continue deciphering the codes of power and history in a way that no one else teaches you, there is only one path. Subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications, because what's coming will separate the masters from the apprentices once and for all. The journey to mastery is just beginning. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Which of these Cold War lessons blew your mind the most today? Your interaction is what keeps this game board spinning and motivates me to reveal secrets that many would prefer to keep buried forever. Don't miss the next episode, as we're going to delve into a topic that will make you question everything you think about security and the future. Time is running out, the piece has been moved, and now the play is all yours. See you at the top.